Alright guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are doing well. In this video I'll be basically shaping and molding the rear passenger side door handle along with the driver side door handle. This took me 2 days to do, mainly because I tried to remove the door handles, but that turned out to be more difficult than it actually should be. But before we get into it, if you're new around here, don't forget to hit that subscription button, drop a like on the video, and comment down below what you think of the series so far, because I'm telling you, this has been a journey, and this has been one of the longest things that I've ever done on this car. So what I'm about to do is just tape up the door so that we don't damage the panel, and also there's this little, I'd say, gasket seal, it's like a rubber seal between the door handle and the car panel. I don't really want to damage that with the heat that I'm going to apply while molding the door handle, so I'm just going to tape it up so that I don't damage things more than how they're already damaged. So basically what you're seeing here is that right piece, that plastic on the door handle that's on the right hand side, that was what was left of the door handle when I got the car. The rod that you're seeing that's running through that piece of plastic is a, what you call it, a clothesline piece of rod that I bent and shaped so that it could fit all the way into the door handle to provide some structural support when I do go ahead and mold and shape the door handle. And what I use to secure that metal rod into the door handle was the 2-part welding glue that you got off Temu, and it worked really well. Trust me, this glue, it surpassed my expectation. I used it to hold the rod in place, and it's definitely holding it in place. I even used some of it in the engine bay, but that's for another video. Alright, so this is what the door handle looks like after doing all the necessary prep work for it. Time for us now to get into molding the door handle, and what I'm basically going to use to do that is one of those soldering kits that you get with the hot air gun and the soldering iron attached to it to really melt the plastic for the door handle. And basically the plastic that I'm using is regular bumper plastic. It is not the plastic that made the original door handle. So I did realize that when it dried, there was this gap between the mold that I did and the original door handle. Not a big deal, but I feel like I can always feel that. But doing this again going forward, I'll definitely try to use the plastic that the door handle was made from, just so that everything bonds properly. The hardest but also the easiest part of doing this was to actually melt the plastic onto the rod so that it would create the foundation for the rest of the plastic to be molded around before we are actually able to shape the door handle. That was the hardest part to do in this entire process, but once you got the plastic to bond to the metal rod, it was just an uphill stretch from there. So after molding the door handles, this is what they currently look like, and as you can see, I basically got the shape down. It won't be OEM, it won't look original, but I'm trying to get the door handles to look as symmetrical as possible to the original. And this is a gap that I'm telling you about. Once the plastic cooled, it shrunk a little, and it created that gap that you're seeing there between the bumper plastic and the plastic that made the original door handle. Not a big deal, like I said. Body filler will fill that in. And what I did also was to just add some more plastic into that gap, so that even when it does shrink, the gap is not that big. And honestly, I did feel like a bodyman while doing this entire process, because I had my file, I had my sandpaper, I had my angle grinder just grinding off the plastic to really shape out the handle to look like the OEM handles. It was an entire process, man. I'm telling you, I felt like a bodyman doing this. I had to use a round file, a flat file, a file that had a round side on one end and also a flat side on the other end. I had to use a small square flat file. It was, I'm telling you, I felt like a bodyman. And after all that sanding and filing, well, after all that filing, this is what the door handle basically looks like. And I went ahead and I put tape on the top of the door handle just to catch the angle of the door handle, the way it curves with the car body. That's what I was trying to catch. That's the reason why the tape is on the top. And it definitely helped, because at some point, I'm not sure if you can see it in the video here, the mold is actually sticking too far off from the car door panel. So having the tape on top of it really helped me to bring it in some more, to get that streamline, as they put it, finish to it. And while using the angle grinder to basically shape the door handle, and I had to use the angle grinder because the angle grinder was what was helping to take off the majority of the plastic off the mold to shape it faster. I would just take like a scraping tool, a putty knife, and just scrape off the excess plastic that got too hot and then clumped up on the edge of the door handle right there, just to really help to see what I'm doing. And I'll step back and look at the door handle from a different angle just to see the proportions and how it traveled with the body lines on the car. Like, I'm telling you, I felt like a bodyman when doing this. You will hear bodymen say, hey, when you're doing any form of body work on the car, just take your hands and rub over it, and if it feels good to your hand, then it's definitely good. Trust me, I find myself doing so much of that while shaping the door handle, and if it just didn't feel right, I'd go back and grind some more, file some more, shape it some more until it felt OEM. And don't worry if the bottom part doesn't look leveled or in line with the bottom part of the handle. At some point you'll realize that I'll take the putty knife and I'll press it up against the bottom and the top part of the door handle. That's just to check if everything is leveled and in line and at the same angle and all of that. And at some point I have to go back in and add more plastic to the mold, because shaving and sanding it down, it opened up like pockets that needed to be filled, and sometimes you take off too much, so you need to add back and then level it off. So don't worry about it. I had all of that sorted out. And after all that grinding and filing, this is what the door handle looks like. It looks more seamline with the car body line as well. It looks more OEM now more than ever. And after doing all of the molding and the shaping of the handle, looking at the car now, it kind of still wants to be streamlined somewhere, but right now they're perfect as they are, and you'll see at the end of the video why I said they're perfect as they are, even though they still need refining. But I'm getting there. I'm mainly focusing on the top and also the face of the door handle, not so much the bottom of the door handle, because when you look at the car, you're mainly seeing the face and you're seeing the top. You're not really seeing the bottom part until you're a couple distance away, and even if you're a couple distance away, you won't realize that the door handle is not original until you get close up. At some point my phone ended up dying, so I didn't get to record like the finished product for the door handle on this side. What you're seeing me doing here is just touching up the little gaps and the little pinholes that is in the mold, so that I can come back and smooth everything and let everything be flush, because to be honest, the least amount of body filler that I can put on the door handle, the better. Even though I do know that I will have to put a certain amount on it in order to get it to be flush, seam line, and look perfect. Now on to the driver's side door handle. This was the side that I actually started first, and this was the side that I tried to remove and ended up realizing that it was futile to try to remove it without breaking the door handle. So I ended up going on the passenger side to do that side. I finished that side, phone ended up dying, so now we're on the driver's side door. And what you're seeing me doing here is just like the passenger side, I'm filling in the pinholes and the gaps between the door panel and the door handle, just so that things seem more seamless and the transition is more smooth between the door handle. Yes, I will have to go back and create a gap because the OEM door handles, they do have a gap between the door handle and the door panel. It's not that big of a gap, but there is one, so I'll have to go back and create that. I should be wearing a respirator while doing this because the smoke from the plastic, oh my god. I still be smelling smoke while sleeping, so yeah, please do wear a respirator when doing this. Even though I was outside in a very ventilated area, being this close to the smoke and fumes, yes, it definitely stayed in my lungs for a bit. And wear eye protection because grinding the plastic with the angle grinder, it tends to stick to the grinding disc, and as it cools, the velocity throws it off and it goes all over the place, and some caught me under my eyes, 1 and 2 went into the eye. So yes, you see me wearing my goggles and stuff. PPEs are important. The process for this door handle was basically the same as the passenger side door handle. File, grind, shape, mold, add, check levels and proportions. It was the same for this. I'm not really going to go over all of what I really did on this door handle. I did end up taking off a little bit more plastic off of this door handle that I had to add back to it in order to ensure that everything is leveled. But I tried my best to tell myself it won't be perfect, just get the shape, get the proportions as close as you can to OEM, and then when you're applying body filler, it will do the rest and you won't be able to tell the difference. But at the same time, you know, being me, the perfectionist that I am to some extent, I do try to make it as proportional to OEM as possible so that I don't have to be doing much refining when the body work starts with the body fill and the sanding. All of that will be taken care of during the molding process, and what I'll have to do during the refining process is just refine a little, smooth off, paint, you know, the whole works. But yeah, that's basically what I did with the door handle. I wish I did have a bigger putty knife so I can get the levels and proportions right. But I also did learn after doing this is that it would be better if I had gotten a piece of cardboard, shaped it out to the original door handles, placed it on these molds and shaped them out that way. I am going to do that in part 2. Yes, part 2 of this video, because I have to refine the seam line shape of the door handles, and plus I have the front and rear bumpers to repair, and I'll be using the same plastic. Hopefully the plastic will work for the bumpers as well. So you'll be seeing those 2 things in part 2 of the video, and I'm going to show you guys what the handles look like after doing all of this. And I must say I am proud of myself for getting them to look as they are now. Alright, so this is what the door handles look like after I had done all of the necessary sanding, filing and shaping. This is basically after the whole sanding process where I just refined it so that it's smooth to the touch. It still has a few imperfections like I stated, but this is as close as I was able to get it over the weekend while working on it. It Still needs a couple works, some refining here and there. And like I said, I do plan to like cut out a cardboard template of the originals, put on it, and refine the shape some more. That would probably take me another 2 to 3 hours to do for both handles. And if you look at the door handle from this perspective, you can see where it kind of sticks off the car just a little bit, too much. The front of it should be just like this one, where it's leaning more towards the car instead of away from it or parallel with it. So I'm going to fix that. Hopefully the handle doesn't become too thin and it throws off the whole streamline of the handle to the car. And if you look from this perspective, you can see where the bottom part of the handle is somewhat protruding outwards away from the side of the car. So we're going to fix that as well later on in part 2, so that it looks more symmetrical and close to OEM. It is the same thing with the passenger side door handle. It needs to come in some more towards the door panel, but like I said, we're gonna just take a mold of the original driver door handles and shape it out. And as you can see here, the front one goes in towards the car while the mold is somewhat running parallel with the car. So we have to fix that. So that's going to be taken care of in the next video. And this is a close-up of it. As you see, sanded it nice. The dark spots are obviously low spots, so hopefully I'll correct that. That little shiny piece that you're seeing right there, that's the metal frame that I molded everything around. Not a big deal if that's poking through. Like I said, body filler, prime and all that is going to hide it, so I'm not worried about it. It's just the shape that I am more concerned about, how it flows with the body line and the side of the panel. And that's basically it. This door handle is more streamlined with the side of the car than the driver side door handle. This was the side that I did most of the refining and shaping and getting all of my techniques, I would say get my techniques down so I could shape it more properly. And this is the door handle that I found out a specific file really gets the job done, shaping the door handle. But yeah, I have to also fix the part where it connects to the door or meet the door. And like I said, that's going to be in part 2, so stick around for part 2 if you haven't already. Comment, share, subscribe down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.